My new trip to get me fly. Girl, sorry, I'm a hoe too.
Good? We're good to go? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I am back on the air. It is Isaiah Jeremiah Williams, and I am back with a special guest, one of my mentors, a person that I definitely look up to, and I'm very excited to kind of hear his outlook on this life. And it's the one and only Chris Colahan.
How you doing?
He said, how you doing? Make sure that you talk into the mic. Just while we get into it now, you should be good there. Yeah. But, like, tell the people, like, who are you, Like, I already know who you are. I'd say, like, you're one of my, not only mentors, but, like, brothers, like you said on the way here. So, I mean, like, it means a lot to actually come out of, I mean, you're a hard worker. You're, I don't even know, a GM? Or
No, just
okay, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But moral of the story, you work your ass off. You're always busy. And to actually get this time for, like, to actually, chill and actually come on the air, it just means a lot. And I just want to say thank you for doing that.
It's my pleasure, man.
Hell yeah. So, get to it. We're going to freestyle on the mic tonight, kind of get into some things. We got the crazy things going on in this world. I mean, we got a lot of stuff that we need to talk about. And one thing about me and you, we've always been able to have a conversation. So,
yeah, let's just get it.
All right, well, let's get it. Like, you start us off, and I'm ready to hop on.
Oh, you're going to make me.
I'm going to make you hop on. What do you want to tell the world? Because I got a lot of stuff I can ask you, but it all gets crazy. You know that.
Well, you know what? Why don't you go ahead and you've already got a loaded itinerary. Why don't we go ahead and hit that off and kind of see where it goes from there?
Oh, okay. Perfect. Okay, so, like, what I can say first off is, I mean, when I met you, it's already been, a year? It's only been a year, honestly. I just got my memories of me working back there. It's only been about a year.
Year and a half about.
But I feel like I've known you a lot. I mean, like, the life lessons that I've learned from you, and you didn't have to preach those lessons onto me. This is what I'm saying. I brought to me to where I'm at today, and I mean, I'm honestly take them, and I still write myself a list, an objective list of what I've had to do and what needs to be done, and it just makes me feel like very goal orientated, and I just want to say thank you for that too. But I mean, like, time can fly, but within just a year, like, I would consider you a day one, because from the first day I met you, I felt welcomed. I felt like, okay, this guy believes in me, and I started to see a new way of me that I never knew was there.
Well, I mean, that's the beautiful thing about it, right? And you're going to encounter the same thing as you grow. Many people have something to say, but most people will do the exact same thing. And if the ears aren't open, then why would you say the words, right? So you've always had your ears open, so it's been real easy to talk to you, kind of push you along, speak to you about, where you can improve at, speak to you about where your strengths are.
Right.
And I think most people close their ears to anything that is growth oriented, right? Most people close their ears to anything that's going to cause them to have to challenge themselves, to push themselves.
I was just going to say challenge themselves.
Yep, because it's work, right? People don't want to work. People don't want to work when they're at work.
Amen. So, I've been there.
But, work it's a challenge. It's just that. It's more difficult to work on yourself than it is to do something that somebody else asks you to do, right? You don't get paid for working on yourself. You don't think you get paid for working on yourself, but people that don't work on themselves will never realize, any income potential or anything from improving.
I really like how you just said that, because that's true stuff. I mean, even being here today, sitting on, Latin Evolution Radio, this is literally for me investing in myself.
Right.
I mean, through little things. I didn't see the payday right away from it. And I didn't think I ever would, but you have to look back at those, like, even if it's just a year ago, and like see like what decisions did I make that I invested in myself versus going and, like, I could be out there partying, I could be out there chasing tail, whatever it is that kids get into nowadays. I could have easily diverted my attention to that, but I've been addicted to kind of finding out more about, not finding more about myself, but more or less like, what else can I do?
Right.
If I keep investing in myself, like, who else can I meet? Like, what business can I start? Where is it going to bring me? And it's literally brought me to, here today.
Well, it's brought you to today, but you don't even know what tomorrow looks like yet, right? So everything that you've accumulated, everything that you're speaking on right now, it's beautiful, and it's the right pocket for you to be in, but you don't even know what tomorrow looks like yet, right? You're still in the first stages of all of this. Should you choose to continue putting forth the effort,
Right.
and I think that's the place where a lot of people lose it is um, you get to a point where you think to yourself, okay, well, I've made it. I'm doing it. I'm doing it right now.
Yep.
Well, yeah, you're doing it right now, but you don't know what you have the potential to do until you say, okay, this isn't enough. It's one of the things that separates the most successful people in the country is it's never good enough. Right?
Ooh.
You're never at the point there, the place where you truly foresee yourself. A lot of people, they rest on their laurels. They sit
Rest
down.
on their laurels.
Yeah, they sit down right where they're at and say, okay, this is good for right now. And it circles all the way back around, right, to the work. If you decide, okay, I've worked on myself a lot, I've done all of the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
Well, you haven't done all of the heavy lifting. You've just made a decision that you're done lifting heavy.
Oh, whoa.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, most definitely.
And
Because there's hard work that comes with it.
you have to constantly and consistently invest. You're constantly changing. So how can you at any given time say, okay, well, I'm at where I'm going to be, right? Because you're always working on yourself. You're always in your head. The most successful people are in their head. The least successful people in the world are in their head. The difference between the two is the decision that gets made in your head. The successful people will say, you know what, I'm going to keep on going. I'm going to do this. Let me put this down on paper. Here's the next thing I'm going to work on, and here's how I'm going to make it happen.
Right.
The least successful people will paint the picture. They'll have the daydream, and then sleep in the next day and get to it tomorrow.
Oh.
Get to it tomorrow becomes the slogan.
Procrastinating.
Yep.
I used to struggle so bad with that.
Most people do.
So I mean, like, how would you say that people can change that? I mean, like, let's say I went to all the way to 25 years old and I wasn't the way that I am.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that that's a point where it's too late?
No, it's never too late, but they're decisions. You have to make decisions in your life as to what you're going to do, who you're going to be, and how you're going to get there. Right. And then after you make that decision, you have to put forward the action. You have to take that first step. Right. Every single person in the world has goals.
Right.
Unfortunately, the majority of people with those goals never take a single step towards those goals. So it becomes the dream, right? It's the American dream.
Oh, whoa.
Right?
That is very true.
Everyone wants this, that, and the third, but what are you actually doing to get there?
Like, what are the steps that you're going to actually have to take to get towards those dreams?
Now, if you look at the most successful people, and let's not even talk about inherited money, right? Let's talk about people who have created who they're going to be from scratch. So we're not talking about the Rockefellers. We're not talking about the J.P. Morgan Chase family. We're talking about the guy who literally started from nothing and then took the steps and created something and pushed it through. Right? Use Bill Gates for an example.
Right. Okay. Because that was the hard work attached with it.
No, not only hard work. He was doing something that nobody even believed was a thing.
Right.
Right. And at some point in time, he said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and succeed at this, or I'm going to fail at it. But I'm going to do either one of those two things at 150%.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's
Right?
a good way to look at that.
And so he pushed himself. Now, I'm not going to sit here and proclaim to know the entire Bill Gates story.
Right. I don't know.
I know he did not become successful because of luck. And I know he did not become successful because of inactivity.
Right.
He got up and he did something. And what he did actually worked. Now, the next person might do something 15 different times before something ends up working. But if they keep on getting up and doing something, at some point in time, something's going to pay off.
Right. Consistency.
It's due diligence, right? Go back to the old saying, if at first you don't succeed, try again. Well, some people have to try again until they get it to go.
Well, how do you keep a mental to keep trying?
Well,
if it's lost so many times, like I just had someone who messaged me the other day, actually, say, she's like, like I'm stretching myself so thin. I've been working, I'm doing this, I'm marketing, I'm helping out companies. And she goes, and I'm just not, she goes, I need more money.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, dude, if you don't see what you're doing, I'm like, you're taking over social media. I can't see anything without seeing you. You got businesses, you got reviews. I mean, what you're doing is working, but it's not just paying off today. And I don't think she sees the fact that if she sticks with what she's doing for like then even let's say a year,
You don't always see the results right away.
right?
You don't always see them in a year.
So how do you
I've
keep
told
that
you,
mental?
I've told you before, the things you're doing are working. You just can't see it yet.
You've told me that a lot.
Well, and that's the reality. That's the reality of life. It's the reality of relationships. It's the reality of work. It's the reality of just being okay in your own body. You have to know that there's a purpose and a goal for the actions that you're taking. If there's no purpose and there's no goal, then how can you possibly stay motivated towards it?
Oh, and that's even harder. I mean, you can always talk about purpose and goals, but I mean, I feel like people into the biggest thing you just said there is you have to be comfortable in your skin, and that's what I was struggling before I even met you.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like I couldn't even have worked on, be it anything else besides. I couldn't have worked on my goals. I couldn't have told you what my goals were. I didn't know who I was. I couldn't have told you my dreams. I couldn't have told you what I wanted to do. I couldn't tell you what I didn't like or what I did like.
One of your goals should be hitting that treadmill because you're sweating.
Yeah, I know. I'm so hot.
You
I'm so hot.
Or something?
Yeah, no, I'm so hot. Thank you for calling me out on the show. So
Yeah.
that means I got something to shoot back at you.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah, you're in my domain right now.
All right. I understood.
But no, that's something I do want to work on. I'm taking my health more seriously because I've been eating so much lately. It's a problem. You can obviously see it in drinking Coke instead of water. But that's minor. What I'm saying is, like
You're
before
talking about the mental aspect of it.
yeah,
Well,
like I had no
mental health
idea.
is a huge thing, right? I mean,
Huge. It's more than huge. It's something that's
well, and it's
overlooked.
even bigger today because it's no longer overlooked, right? It's become okay to talk about your mental health. It's been okay to say I'm not okay, but you got to take it a step further, right? Because first off, this is a new phenomenon. It's a new phenomenon for a man to be able to say, you know, my mental health isn't doing good right now. That's a new thing. That's within the last decade. Because prior to that, you dealt with it, right? You figured it out.
Had to man up.
It's that simple, right?
Right.
It couldn't be because you were crumbling inside, right? Well, now it's okay. It's not taboo anymore. But what is mental health?
Right. Is it just addressing it?
Well, before you even get to a point where you're addressing it, what are you addressing? Are you truly struggling with mental health? As many are, as many do.
Right.
Or is what's holding you back something that's not mental health? Is it just fear? Is it just laziness? I don't want to do the work. I want to be rich today. You have to identify what the issue is first before you can address the issue. Otherwise, you're misdiagnosing yourself.
Right. You could be fixing something that was never even the problem. Actually, that makes me think of something. That makes me really think of something. Okay. Because with me, I was medicated throughout all my life as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was put on medication for, so my ADHD, so that's Adderall. I was put on stuff for my anxiety. I was put on my stuff for my anxiety at nighttime, my sleeping meds. I was told that I had to eat all these different, like calcium, iron, and stuff like that because I couldn't eat. But the biggest thing was my anxiety and the ADHD, and they were saying that it was affecting me at school. It was affecting me so much that I couldn't be with the normal kids. And now I'm coming to think of it, like, it doesn't matter what pill you gave me. It doesn't matter how much I talk to a therapist. It's not going to change the fact that I'm growing up in a broken home. I'm growing up without some things. I'm growing up with a lack of being taught right from wrong in some of these situations. I don't need a pill.
You're growing up and being taught that things are okay that aren't okay, that things are normal that shouldn't be allowed to be normal, right? So I grew up in a time where there wasn't ADHD medication. There was a belt, right?
Yeah, I got both.
So, hey, so good on you, right? Because
right.
There's something to be said about that. But I also grew up in a time where somebody getting shot, a drive-by shooting, losing a friend, losing a homie, seeing people slanging drugs outside, that was normal, right?
Right.
And so, much like many other people in this world, I grew up with a false sense of what's normal and what's not normal.
So what you grew up thinking was normal?
I grew up thinking that it was perfectly normal that if you stepped on someone's shoes, that at the minimum you might be fighting. That if you disrespect someone in the club, that at a minimum you might be gun clapping, and that if you had a close circle of friends, that they would absolutely be willing to ride or die with you. And so the value of life uh, was considerably less. So to sum it all up, I grew up in a time where what was okay and what was normal shouldn't be allowed to be okay or normal. And you get PTSD from that. The hardest brothers in the world that I know have PTSD, right? They
Right.
walk out the door and they're watching their back at, some of them at 50, 60 years old. Like,
Oh my God.
like so and so is still looking from them from,
From
from way back.
back in like high school.
But that's not okay,
Right.
right? You have to get to a point in time where you are able to acknowledge what's okay and what's not okay, and you have to be okay making those changes in your life to remove yourself and forgive yourself from the way that you were, and then make those changes. And so, circling all the way back around, talk about mental health.
Right.
Mental health could be PTSD, it could be depression, whether it be income-based depression, family-based depression. But what mental health can't be is I'm just not willing to do it. Right? So there's two different things. If you want to live in that pocket, that's not a mental health thing, that's a decision thing.
The pocket of not. What do you mean? Like of not wanting to do something about
whichever pocket, right? It's you could call it income based, but it's not. This subject isn't necessarily income based.
Right. I'm thinking more of like how we are brought up.
If you're brought up by the streets, you live as an adult with a false sense of how the world should work. And it becomes okay. You actually become more comfortable living in instability.
Because that's what you're used to.
That's what it was.
Maybe. Whoa. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Because that's something I've been struggling this past year is trying to be more stable, more organized. I started doing that with you actually when I was even back at the last dealership. I mean, I had to learn how to schedule things out, write things down, become goal oriented. But I struggle with that. That's not how I was raised at all. I mean, I was raised paycheck, and that will be hustle through the next paycheck,
You get
but
your paycheck and you spend your paycheck.
yeah, you get the paycheck, you spend the paycheck, exactly, and then you hustle throughout the rest of the month to make sure that you're living because it's not guaranteed, and nothing was planned. I mean, the only thing that was planned is the first.
Well, I mean, you look at it with what professional athletes are actually a great example.
Yeah.
Right.
How they spend all their money?
Not even so much how they spend all their money, because if you've got the money, not my business what you do with it.
Right.
I'm not gonna be that guy. These guys are making millionaires millions of dollars. They deserve to get paid, and they should be able to go out and buy a car.
Right.
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 I'm more talking about the environment of it. So now you've got a person who grew up exactly how we're talking about.
Yeah.
Grew up seeing the same things that we're discussing. Grew up in an environment where that is the norm. That's what's comfortable. And now you put them in a situation where they're a millionaire. And then all of a sudden you see on the news that so-and-so got caught with weed in their car. Well, having weed in your car, that's an everyday thing.
Right.
Right. And so you see what I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. What I'm saying is if you grow up with that being the normal, that being normal doesn't change because somebody handed you a check.
Right.
What changes that from being normal is putting your foot down and saying, this is not okay for me. These are the changes that I'm going to make so that I can create my new normal. We're not talking about conformity.
Right.
I'm not up here preaching that. What I'm not doing is preaching that, oh, well, you should get a membership at the golf course and you should have a boat and you should go get a cabin. I'm not preaching that either, because that's not normal to me. That's everything I just said. None of that does a thing for me.
Right.
maybe to the next guy, but it should at least be normal to pay all of your bills in a month and know that you've got extra money in savings that's not getting touched just in case something bad happens. That should at least be normal.
Yeah, that ain't normal for me.
It's not normal for most people in America.
Okay, I was about to say.
Right? You take color out of it. Color doesn't have anything to do with it. There's more poor white people in this world than there are any other races,
Wow.
right?
Okay.
That are living the exact same way that we're talking about. Right? The system was set up to create a divide between poor black people, poor Hispanic people, poor white people. The system was created to keep them all separate because if all of the poor people were together, whew, that's how change happens. So you got to keep them separate. You got to make poor black people not appreciate or care for, have compassion
So you
for
think
poor
this
white
was
people.
set up
Oh, yeah.
systematically?
This was drawn up hundreds of years ago. This was drawn up at Shays' Rebellion.
Whoa, who's Shay?
Shays' Rebellion Shay was a farmer, and they were, without going too much into it and taking up
Yeah.
the whole show with a history lesson, poor white people, poor black people, rising up against the government. And once that rebellion was finally quashed, the final outcome of that rebellion is the poor white people that were a part of it were given more amenities. And as a result of that, they placed themselves in a different class system from the poor black people that they rebelled with.
Whoa. Okay, that's a whole episode on its own. I see what you're saying.
So by placing themselves in a different class system, you create that separation. It's no different from middle class black people and the relationship middle class black people have with lower class black people or Hispanics. You insert whichever race you want to insert there. A divide is created by money, and the system is designed to do that because they can't all be together, right? 1% of the country has 80% of the money in their bank accounts.
So what were to happen if everyone were to come together on that aspect?
Well, it's never going to happen.
Because the system won't let it.
We won't let it.
Ain't that the truth? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, what do you mean we won't?
We won't let it. We wouldn't allow it to happen. I work too hard to be where I'm at, to have someone who doesn't work as hard as me be able to say that they're doing the exact same thing, right? And I'm making that as a statement,
True,
as a broad statement, not necessarily my own thinking,
mm-hmm.
but we have expectations of where we should be based on what we're doing, and we will not allow those expectations to be thwarted by someone that isn't doing the same things we are. As a human race, this is what allows powerful people to be powerful people, is because there will always be a divide amongst your general population. Right? There will always be a divide. Everyone wants to believe that what they're doing should place them on a higher level, right?
Shoot, yeah.
If you don't believe that, why don't you grab 15 people you know and pick dodgeball teams. Have 2 captains and pick teams. Someone is going to get picked last.
Oh, that's the worst.
Oh, you've experienced that. I've always
I'm saying
I was
like
the captain, but so you got picked last.
I was the captain too, and I had to pick someone last. Sometimes,
but no. On a serious note, jokes aside,
yeah,
someone is always going to get picked last. Why did they get picked last? Why don't you switch it up and pick them first? Why is that? I'll answer the question so that you don't have to, because you're coming back on the show tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm so stuck with all this. I'm just so confused.
The reason why they always get picked last is because they're not as good as the other players.
Right. There's an obvious difference. One works harder than the another.
Sometimes it's just natural athletic ability. The person that got picked last, they might go home and practice dodgeball every single day. They're just not as good. Okay?
Well, okay.
Now let's make dodgeball life.
Okay.
There's going to be someone that gets picked last. And the captain, the person that's picking, is always going to say, I'm trying to put the best team together. And so this person belongs on this team. this person shouldn't even be on the team, but I have to pick them up. So who's
Whoa.
making the decisions?
That just makes me really think about like where I'm at in this team.
You get to decide that. See, the beautiful thing about it is going all the way back.
Yeah.
Is if you're writing your own story, you get to decide what the game is.
Whoa.
You get to
Okay.
decide what work has to be put in to ensure yourself in your story that you're first pick, that you're the captain. So I'm not insinuating that the person that got picked last can't make it.
Right. Because they can. I think they could come back from.
They just have to figure out what game they want to play.
Well, what if that is the game they want to play?
Then they got to put in the work.
Yeah, correct. I mean,
they got to put in the work, and they have to continue putting in the work.
Because that
But you
reminds
also
me
have
of
to
like,
you also have to make intelligent decisions, right?
yeah, well,
I'll tell you one thing that's not going to happen as a result of me being here with you tonight.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try and get my own radio show. That's not my personality. That's
Right.
not who I am.
right. Okay.
No matter what amount of work that I put into it, there are natural things that I'm just never going to be able to bring to the table. And even if I could bring them
Interesting.
even if I could bring them to the table on a temporary basis, the overall happiness is unsustainable because you can't be happy doing something that's not in your lane.
To each his own. I mean, you're right. You're right with that. I didn't know that this was even going to be my lane, though. You know what I mean? Like, let's say if we do go back to, what were you saying? Not kickball.
We're talking about dodgeball.
Dodgeball.
We don't want to talk about kickball.
I know.
I
Okay.
already got one clap coming my way.
I know it's coming.
Blast.
I know it's coming. So, but like, let's say, well, what that reminds me of is like when I first got in the car business. I mean, let's say I was given an opportunity, and I was just like, okay, I didn't even like cars. I've never been a car guy. That wasn't my thing at all. I'm given the opportunity. I'm put in the back. I feel like I'm the player that had to get picked in this scenario.
Diversity.
Yeah, and I'm just like, okay, like, do I just like, I felt like they didn't believe I would make it anyways, and I could have either just fell right there, or I could have put the hard work in. Like, I was the guy who everybody else was cheating on their test, looking up Quizlet answers about like what engine comes in what. I was out there studying. I'd write down this trim level comes with this versus this one, and I trained myself to become a product knowledge expert, I guess. And then I started finding a passion towards it. And now, I mean,
right,
4 years
what
later,
you
it's
have to ask
life.
yourself though is, did you actually find a passion towards selling cars, or did you find a passion towards being allowed to be an extrovert, to talk to strangers, to be able to engage customers? We call them customers, but to engage with a variety of people.
You're onto something here.
Right?
You are.
So essentially, what the car business for you, was that the opportunity for you to sell cars, or was that the awakening of a sustainable strength that you have? And I would argue the point that it's awakening, because you and I have had this conversation before, right?
Yeah.
The car business, there's things about the car industry that aren't fit for you, and you know it, right? The stress, the long hours, the this, the that.
Yeah. But
it does allow you to be yourself with regards to the engagement, the outgoing,
Yeah, that is very true. If any job I could feel myself, it's definitely the car business.
Okay, so look what that door opening. You said I couldn't foresee myself being here. Well, who knows where here is, right? This is about doing the work. You didn't create a company, you're creating a person. So by that door opening up for yourself, essentially what that door opened up is it being okay for you to be you, and being able to potentially find a way to make a living just off of that. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
Your personality, and I love you to death, your personality doesn't work in so many different industries.
Oh, shoot.
It does not jive, right? They don't go hand in hand.
Okay.
But we're not talking about what industries your personality doesn't work with. We're talking about what industries does your personality work with.
Right.
And once those are identified, okay, then what's the work that can be done to maximize that? When I say what's the work that can be done, you're not looking at somebody else's playbook. You get to make the decision as to what you want to do, as long as you're willing to do the work necessary to do it.
Oh, I'm loving this.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I feel like you've been just waiting to tell me all this.
Well, I'm not, but that's the thing about it. Yeah, I'm telling you this right now, but we're live right now. I'm
Right.
telling every single person that might tune into this
Right.
the exact same thing. What's your power? What's your strength?
So what's your power?
I work with people,
Right.
and not strangers, right? I put teams together. I mentor people. I try and help people be the best version of themselves that they can be. My job in the car industry, yeah, I can work numbers all day long. That's easy.
Yeah.
What's difficult and where I become borderline irreplaceable is I can take a person and I can help them realize where their strengths are and inspire them to be the best version of who they can be to serve the job that they're doing. In which case, the job that they're doing would be selling cars,
Right.
for me, right? And when they open up, it pulls the best out of people. I can give them all the training in the world based on what their personality type is, and tell them how they can be successful with their personality type.
Right.
And it's not about selling cars; it's about doing a job, right? Selling cars is no different from selling pencils. People come in; they already know what they want.
I want a pencil. I'm here for okay. Yeah.
Right.
True.
People come in, they already know what they want. In commerce in general, in this day and age, people come in knowing what they want. Okay?
Very true. Yeah.
So how can you identify who that person is, first off? Because if you meet a personality like mine
Yep.
with a personality like yours in a sales setting, that sale's never happening. Right?
What do you mean by that?
What I mean
That one
by
really got me. I mean, like, I think I could sell him a car. Like, ultimately, like, are you trying to say that you wouldn't buy a car for me?
What I'm trying to say is your personality would be too much for me. I'm an introvert, right? I'm a numbers guy. I want to look at the data.
I'm so disrespected right now.
Well,
Like, I don't even care about what you're saying right now.
shouldn't be. But
Like,
when you walk up to me, you're like, "Hey, I'm Isaiah. Let's go." Right?
Come on, bro. It's so much better than that.
Yeah, I know. I can't.
I'm a lot cooler than that.
Yeah, I can't act like you. But that's not me. But what you've learned, one of the things that you've learned from me, is in that initial engagement with a person. Not a customer. In that initial engagement with a person is to identify where they're at, who they are, and to meet them halfway so that your personalities coexist.
Right.
Now, we're not talking about car sales anymore. We're talking about life. We're talking about the person that you go up and order your food from McDonald's.
Yeah.
Right? We're talking about the person that you might buy your house from. We're talking about the people that we're talking to right now. Right? Some of the people that are listening to this show right now are waiting and sitting there on bated breath, waiting for you to say something hilarious.
Yeah.
Because that's how they choose to be engaged by you.
Right. That's
Where
true.
there are others that are like, "Hey, I like this show today because it's taken more of a serious tone."
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
do you
Very
engage
true.
both? Right? How do you, in your endeavor with the radio, how do you bridge those two lines? Right? You've had a lot of your listeners who absolutely appreciate some of the more sensitive subject matter
Yep.
that you've talked about, and you have a lot of listeners that are waiting for the next big rapper to come out of Minnesota.
Right.
How do you bridge both of them? How do we talk to all of those people? That's your work to do. Not
Yeah.
mine.
No. And that's why I'm very surprised you said we wouldn't mesh, because I do this.
I'm not saying. What I'm saying is, unless you put the thought into it, unless you did the heavy lifting and made a decision to who you're going to be in that lane, if you weren't able to identify who I was when you were beginning to engage me,
Mm-hmm.
then you could miss the mark.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
I see what you're saying.
That's
Moral of
what-
the story, though, I'm selling your car.
Probably not.
Oh, you don't know how much I deal with this.
Probably not. I would.
But I see what you're saying. You got to understand what you're getting into so you can at least see how you're going to address it.
You got to know what you're doing before you do it. If you're going to do anything at an expert level, you should be prepared.
Right.
Well, what does preparedness mean?
Is it like a mental thing? Is it just having notes? Is it knowing what you're going to do?
It's
Is it
all
knowing
of
what
it.
you're going to say?
It's all of it.
Your demeanor, your attitude,
It's all of it.
he says this, I'm going to respond with this.
It's all of it. Right?
Okay.
It's all of it. Right?
But that needs to be taught. I don't know how you got so well at getting organized, scheduled, and being this person that you are today if you were, brought up the way that you were brought up.
So I didn't have a choice. I didn't give myself a choice. Right? So first off,
You're talking to the mic for the thing.
First off, both of us work in an industry that there's very few minorities that work in.
Yeah.
Right? You pick the minority, right? Black, Latino, women, homosexual.
Right.
You pick the minority, there's few and far between. Okay?
That's so true.
So first off, you have to put on your uniform. And your uniform isn't, oh, here's my dress pants, here's my dress shirt, here's my pen, I'm ready to go to work.
Oh, it's your beliefs, it's your attitude, it's how you talk.
It's what not to say. Right?
Yes.
It's what not to say. My beliefs, I'm in an industry where most people don't believe the things I believe in. So
that's true.
Should I try to engage people on that level?
No, okay, I see what you're saying. No, you shouldn't at all. Not if you want to be beneficial at work.
Why bring it up? It's part of the game. Now, that doesn't mean that I keep my mouth shut when it shouldn't be shut. So make no mistake about it. If I see injustice, if I see, that I'll bring that kind of stuff up. You've been around me when I have.
Yeah, same.
But how did I bring it up?
Yeah, you are very right. You're very right. You addressed it. You changed on who you're talking to.
We use those opportunities to hopefully provide people that don't have the information, that just have the story, with the information to potentially assist in their outlook on the situation.
Right.
Right? I'm being vague on purpose, but let's talk about the George Floyd.
I knew that's where we were going because I know that I flipped out. I was working for you at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And
and what did I tell you?
Well, you told me to do more research on it if I was going to do it and how I was going to talk about it.
Right. What else did I tell you?
Well, this is over a year ago.
I can tell you.
Yeah, tell me what you told me because I remember how I felt though. I felt like I had to shut up.
You were getting ready to. You were going to go to some protest.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you that's all fine and good. What are you going to protest? He said, well, it's just BS. It's this, that, and the third. It's like, you're going to protest BS. You live your whole entire life protesting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember this. You're basically telling me to be prepared.
You're going to live your entire life protesting. Well, I feel like I've got something to say. I've got to be heard. Okay. So is you going out in amongst a group of people where at least a certain percentage of them don't even know what they're protesting, and just being in that group, is that the best way? So I don't know. What are you trying to get at? I said, well,
because I was so mad I didn't even want to hear it at the moment.
I made you hear though.
Yeah, you were very right, and I appreciate that you did.
I asked you how many Facebook followers you had.
Right.
And you told me the number.
Yeah.
I said, well, why don't you write something up and let all of your Facebook followers hear what it is that you're protesting, what it is that you don't like. I told you, I said, make sure that you do your research first so you know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because in that action, you reached over 6,000 people, as opposed to the maybe 2 or 3 that would have heard you over the uproar at the protest that you wanted to attend.
Damn, that is so right. That is so true.
Right?
And that is, oh my God, Chris. You really got me stuck because you're right. I mean, I wouldn't have wanted to tell you that a year ago.
Well, maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows?
But
Right?
no,
In this country, we have the right to protest. And it's one of the few rights that, as minorities, we can actually engage in.
right.
So the worst case scenario, you get pepper sprayed in jail overnight. But
right.
it's
So you got to let your voice out.
it's a right to peaceful protest. Right?
Correct. Correct.
So maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. My message to you was, what are you doing? What's the reason that you want to do it? And if the reason is I want to reach people, you're going down the wrong path.
Yeah, we need more Chris's to talk to people. Because, like, even just a conversation like that, I was just talking to one of my sales consultants I work with who's, let's just say, an older gentleman. He has said that my generation and the next have seemed to lose, like this, problem solving, being actually to analyze a situation instead of just act on impulse. Because, I mean, you're seeing this now more and more with everybody across the U.S. I mean, you got school shootings, mass shootings, you got, I mean, things that are being done without consequences lately that I feel like could be talked about, like in that conversation. Like you could have, like,
Well, there's a lot of people talking about it. But remember that divide that we were talking about a little bit earlier.
right,
That divide is there. That divide is necessary for the richest people in the world to stay the richest people in the world. Okay? The NRA needs all of the people with guns to believe that there's danger.
right, or else they wouldn't be buying them.
They need them to believe that they need the gun, right? That's a necessity.
Right.
It's also a necessity for the NRA for people to believe that someone is out to take their guns away. Well, for anyone that
causes a divide right there.
For anyone that doesn't want the guns, how are you going to have a conversation with someone that is so fearful that something is going to be taken away from them? How are you going to find a common ground?
Whoa.
There's been scientific studies that basically have said that once somebody's mind is made up,
yeah,
it's impossible to change it. Now,
I firmly believe that.
Right. And for anyone that doesn't believe it, go ask a Catholic to conform to Judaism. Go ask a Republican to become a Democrat.
Hey, well, that's a good one. That's a good one. Like, I don't know where I stand on that line, but I feel like I've been all over the place recently.
On the politics?
Yeah.
Okay. Based on what research?
Based on me not wanting to get taxed more.
Okay. So.
And some documentaries.
So when the government comes out, I don't care what government it is, Republican, Democrat, I don't care. That part doesn't matter. But when they come out and they say, okay, we're raising taxes. We're going to raise taxes only on 1%. We're only going to raise it on the lower class, middle class, and upper middle class. And we are going to raise taxes 1%. And you get your paycheck, and it's 60 cents lighter than what it was before.
Right. Pissed.
It's absolutely demoralized, right? Because you didn't even know that it was 60 cents lighter. You just read somewhere. You saw TikTok that said, they're raising our taxes.
You're so right, though. You're so right. Like, I wouldn't even notice the difference.
That's a divide. That's by design. That divide has to be there.
Dude,
if a Republican raises taxes, the Democrats are going to come out and they're going to create the divide that Republicans are raising taxes. And why are they going to do that? Votes. Because people don't read.
Right. Right. They don't fully look into it. That's
if
for
a
sure.
Democrat raises taxes, regardless of what it's for, we're going to raise taxes because we want to make sure that every child has a home to live in. That part doesn't matter. That part gets lost. It's too late in the sentence. You lost everyone that raised taxes. The Republicans will come out in that case, and they will go after their votes.
Right.
The reality of the situation is most of them at the highest levels, they don't care about any of the three people in this room or most of the people that we know. These decisions are being made so far over anybody's head that it doesn't matter what party you support.
Right.
And so when I say, hey, what research have you done? The research needs to be based on ideology.
Right.
And I'm not telling you which direction to go. I'm telling you to politically, you make a decision based on who has the same belief structure, or at least a belief structure that's more in line with how you believe.
But those beliefs are just advertised to get people.
They're some of it's for the votes.
Right.
But if you're making a decision because of taxes, then you're looking at it.
Oh, then I'm an idiot. Yeah, I'm the guy who didn't read. I was just thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, like these kids really don't read. There's people that are just clicking on links that aren't even. They're not even clicking the link. They're just
most
reading
people don't, or most people believe the first thing that they read.
Dude, I'm
without
that guy.
Context.
I am that guy.
Everyone is that person.
But I'm different.
Everyone is that person. Because how far down the rabbit hole do you go until you are consumed by it?
I don't. I just scroll.
Well, and that's what most people do.
Oh,
there's a space in the middle where people don't live. How far down that rabbit hole do you want to go? Right?
Right.
So how much effort, how much time can you put into that until you say, okay, I've stopped focusing on myself and I've started focusing on something that's intangible.
Dude, I'm just sitting here stuck because I feel like we're figuring out the problems with the world right now.
No, we're not figuring anything out.
I feel like I'm figuring stuff out.
If me or you were at the helm, we would be faced with the same difficult decisions that our current political structure is faced with, and we ultimately likely end up making 75% of the decisions the exact same, right? It's this, the system is so predetermined, preordained, that in order to affect real change, it would require complete deconstruction and reassembly.
Is that what you think needs to happen? I'm a firm believer we need to at least deconstruct and reconstruct.
All I'll say is this, is when Thomas Jefferson wrote the Constitution,
right,
he stated that this is not going to last forever and is going to have to be rewritten. That's the piece that gets lost.
Right. I mean, I look at that stuff and I'm like, dude, I don't want to listen to any rules that were written by someone who were slaves were still fine. And there's so many other things that are just still fine.
Yeah, I mean, our system right now is designed with redlining and corporatized prisons, and it's designed to have people exactly where they're at. Redlining is basically an ideology that keeps people confined to certain environments, right? So district lines are drawn up, and within one side of those district lines, one section of people can live, usually minorities, and outside of those lines, they can't. And so now Isaiah's super successful, and he says, okay, well, I want to move out into this area. Well, redlining is designed to where you can't get a mortgage in that area. So you might pay more for the home that you end up in the area on the wrong side of the track, so to speak.
No way.
And by keeping you on that side of the street, they ensure that, as far as wealth, that your ability to generate wealth is diminished because you're paying more for less. So
no freaking way, dude.
So it's an insurance policy. Now, if Isaiah is super successful, you know what they'll do?
What?
They'll give you that house. You know why? Because if your voice is too big, they don't want you giving away the playbook to too many other people. You will separate yourself.
Dude, you might get canceled after this show.
It's okay, because I probably won't be on again. So
no, I mean not by like that. I mean like by like I think like the FBI or something's gonna pull up.
No, I mean this is, you know what? That's the beautiful thing about it, is everything that I'm saying, it's out there. It's available for people to research. They can go find the information for themselves and derive their own opinions for it. You don't have to listen to me.
Right.
The reason why nobody will care that I'm on this show saying these things is because most people will only hear what I'm saying and won't truly listen to it. And so nothing will happen as a result of it.
Wow. Oh,
It's one of those. It's one of those things, right? I can give you the whole playbook because you won't do it.
right.
Right? I used to say that at work. I call every single dealership up and tell them why we're successful because they won't do it. They can't. They don't have the infrastructure. They don't have the drive. They don't have the determination, and they don't have the people, the human resources
To actually
we
do
have
so.
to actually do something about it. You can give away any playbook in the world. This is the part where life separates itself from sports, right?
Right.
You
Right.
give the Patriots somebody else's playbook, and they're going to learn all of those plays, and they'll be ready for the game. In real life, you can give someone the playbook; they won't do it.
Yeah, because I mean, people know right from wrong in a lot of things.
It's because success is hard.
Would you say success is harder than failing?
Oh yeah, because the only thing that you have to do in order to fail
Is give up.
is to fail.
Oh, and that's true. When you succeed, it could be failure after failure after failure. You'll have more failures
And you have to
trying to succeed
and you
than
have to keep going. You
Right.
have to think outside the box. You have to make decisions. You have to decide why you failed.
right.
Because you don't restart every single time. Sometimes 75% of what you did worked perfectly. It's the 25% that made you fall.
Well, this is exactly like what I tell people is if you fall, just make sure that your ground that you fall on is risen from the last time.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, what you just said.
Right, but what does that mean?
That means like you got to learn from what you just did.
Right, but what does that mean?
You're better. Like it's okay to take an L.
Okay, but what does that mean? We can come up with all of the different fancy sayings in the world.
I'm not. I
Right.
feel like I'm saying different things though.
I know, but what I'm saying is, everybody lives their life off of social media. So they wake up every single morning. Oh, it's Monday. We're going to go get it. What does that mean? What's the next step of that?
Right.
What am I going to go get? How am I going to get it? How am I going to make sure that I keep it? How am I going to make sure that I grow it? All of those questions need to be answered in order for you to truly advance. Most people stop at the I'm going to go get it.
Right. Because they posted and that's what they think they did.
They don't have the next step planned and plotted out. They don't know what they're actually truly trying to go get. What's the plan?
Oh my god, dude! I love how you talk because I see it all in my head right now. I'm like, okay, like I got to think of it. Just like what you said about who you're talking to too. I mean, you can't fully do anything unless you know what you're getting yourself into.
What's the plan? Who is this person that I'm speaking to? How do they think? What do they believe? How do they communicate? Some people you can't communicate with.
Right.
Anybody that has ever come into your life that you haven't been able to communicate with, that's a dual effort. That is their resistance to learning how to communicate at your level, and your resistance to learning how to communicate at their level. It's a dual effort to say, yeah, I can't communicate with that person. I don't mess with them no more. I can't communicate with them. I don't go out with her anymore. I can't communicate. It's not
Right.
It's
a
not
two-way
you
street.
can't. It's you both decided that you just weren't going to.
Right. Right. Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's very true.
And that's okay. That's okay. But in business, it can't be okay. In business, you at least have to be able to say, hey, I think you'd actually work better with this customer. I can't get through to him.
Right.
It's not that you can't. It's I am not trained well enough yet to engage this human being. I feel like you might be.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
We all have different people that we might feel more uncomfortable around than others.
Yeah.
So,
That's very well said. That's very well said.
but again, what's the plan for when that does happen? And it's going to happen. What's the plan? You can decide what the plan is today. You can check that off your little growth list.
Right.
But what is the plan? Nothing happens without this rate. Us being here right now, getting to this stage in this program,
Yep.
with what they do with this, is that the final plan? I'm going to have a podcast on Facebook. That was the final plan? Or is
Right.
that a step in what the big picture progression of this is going to be? Was
Correct.
that when this idea first sparkled, was it, I'm going to have a Facebook podcast? Or was it, I want to try and create something to compete with Univision or Telemundo? If the answer is the first one, that's okay. Now, how do you end up maximizing that? How do you grow it beyond what it is? If the answer is the second one, then we're at the beginning phases and what's the next step,
Right.
right?
Oh, I like that.
And those are
Okay.
all decisions those are decisions that get made at an organic level because, like I said, some people are absolutely okay with where they're at right now.
Yeah.
And if they're okay with it and they're not complaining about it, then I'm okay with it too,
Right.
right?
So they're not complaining.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to knock someone that says, "Hey, I work at McDonald's. I love it." Good for you. That's
Right.
awesome. That's awesome. I don't care how much you make. Can you pay your bills?
But if
You
the
can?
same person were to be complaining and like, oh, why do I have to do this, such as that? I
Then
never have enough
what are you
money.
going to do?
Right.
What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do legally about it? I grew up knowing all the illegal answers, right?
Right.
I can put money in the bank, well, under the mattress.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can make that happen. But I made a decision a long time ago that that wasn't the way I was going to lead my life, right? So now if I've taken that off the table, what are my options?
And it creates a lot more options when you think like that, because then you're not even thinking about what you think you know, which would be like putting it underneath the bed and such. It creates such like a spot and space in your head where you're like, okay, maybe I could get a job doing this. I'll try doing something else. I'm gonna try emceeing for the first time.
Well, what's realistic? And unfortunately, there's a lot of luck involved.
Yeah.
Because you need to come across people in your life that say, "Hey, it doesn't work that way. Your head is in the clouds. This is how it works."
See, but a lot of people like that will tell you stuff like that, but it's only because they can't see the bigger picture too.
Well, those are decisions that each individual has to make.
But you know what I mean?
Is the information tangible that I'm receiving right now? Or am I just shutting off to that information because it's hard work? That's up to the individual, right? You're right. A lot of times people can't see the big picture,
Right.
right? There's a lot of very successful people in the world that heard all of the stuff that they can't do, and as a result, they went and did it.
Right.
But within that, those same people that heard all of the stuff that they can't do, they also came across people that said, "You can do this. Try it this way." And they listened.
Wow.
Everybody's got an opinion.
That's a totally different way that I looked at that.
Everybody's got an opinion. And you know what the easiest opinion to give is? One about someone else. Because we are too broken of a species to point the finger at ourselves.
Whew. There's been a lot of intel tonight. Let me tell you, this has been. I need to sit and watch all this back and take everything that you just said into play, because even just in that last situation that you had just said, I mean, you had said that totally different than in how I'd looked at it. But it took me thinking I didn't know to at least hear what you were saying.
Well, I mean, I think the moral of all of it is if you've made the decision that you're willing to do the work, then make a plan and start doing the work. And I'm not saying this to you because
No, I know.
you and I have talked quite a bit, and I know that you have a plan, and I know that you have a final outcome, and I know that you're at a minimum coming up with what the steps are.
Right.
But this is to anyone that's listening that if you've gotten anything from this and are actually, digging what we're talking about, what's your next step? What's your next step? The answer isn't money. Money is a result. It's a result of the activity. What are the activities that you need to do to get those? Right? And all the hustlers out there and whatnot, unfortunately, I'm not having this conversation with you. You guys already know what you're doing. You know what your next step is.
Right.
I'm talking about to the people that are trying to do it a different way, that are trying to do something that they haven't done before, that are trying to do it legitimately. You can't have the money today.
No.
It's not there. What is the plan to get it? And make an actual plan. And then more important than that, or just as important as that actual plan, dig your heels in and do the work to get there. You have to. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah, and if you're not going to do the work, quit complaining.
There's very few people in this world that got a paycheck their first day of work. Right?
Right.
They worked for 2 weeks first, and then they got the result. And then they worked another 2 weeks, and then they got the result. And at any given time, when wherever you worked at decided this person isn't working hard enough, that place of business said, no more checks for you. You no longer work here.
Yeah, the work's always going to come first, then the rest will come.
And if you actually dig in and dedicate yourself to your craft and grow, don't rest. Oh, I'm already really good at this. I already know what I'm doing. I do stuff every single day that I've never done before.
Really?
Every single day.
That's true.
And if I'm asked to do something that just needs to get done, you know what I do? Figure out the best way for me to be able to get it done. And I do it so much that it becomes second nature. Doesn't matter if I want to do it or not. What matters is my ability to continue to deliver my previous product with this added on top of it. The only way to do that is become an expert at it so that it doesn't take as much time as much of your day as it did the first day that you did it.
Right. As it shouldn't. I mean, it definitely shouldn't if you're taking it seriously.
Well, but that's just it though. It's the work that's involved in it.
Right.
If I sat down over here on this laptop, manning the cameras and doing all the stuff like that, we still wouldn't be airing today. It'd be 2 weeks from now before we clicked, okay, go ahead and start talking, right?
Right.
But
right.
at some point in
It's a hard
time,
job.
at some point in time, if I made the decision that, hey, I really want to learn how to do this,
Yeah.
at some point in time, I could, at a minimum, gain similar proficiency to what's currently going on.
Correct, because you actually have to want it.
Okay, so after that some point in time hits,
Yeah.
and I keep going and keep trying more things, I can become better than what we're currently doing.
And that's
And if I'm better,
the goal.
and I say, okay, let me continue to learn some new tricks, let me continue to try different things,
Yep.
I can become the best. Now, here's where some of your higher functioning people, here's where they fall off. Once you're the best, do you keep working? Most of the times the best doesn't. And before you know it, they're not the best anymore.
Yeah, so it's not about the ultimate goal. It's about the work. From everything that you just said, it's not about the goal. It's not about the dreams. It's not about any of that. It's about the work that you're going to put in.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's all that matters.
And it's about drawing that balance between that work and your own personal happiness too.
Right. Yeah, because you need to be happy with the story that got you there. I mean, you have to.
I mean, ultimately, what are you working for?
Right.
If you took everyone in this country and you say, you know what? We have plenty of money put aside. Nobody has to work anymore. We've got computers that can do that. Everything's digital. We're just going to pay everyone. If it became more communistic, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to pay everyone the same amount and everybody's going to have the ability to do everything.
Yeah, no, I couldn't do that. I strive to be unique.
You would still have people within that construct that say, I want more.
Yeah.
I require more of myself.
Yeah. No, that would definitely happen.
Well, that's that class system that we were talking about
Oh,
earlier.
shit. Yeah.
Right? You still are going to have the person that wants to be first picked.
Yeah. And that's very true. I mean, no one wants to be picked last.
Some people are completely fine being picked last. God bless them, as long as they're not complaining about it. That's how you separate the class system. That's how you get rid of it. Right?
Wow. I hope all my listeners are taking just notes.
Shame on anyone that looks down on someone that is happy with what they're doing and is able to take care of their needs with what they're doing. Shame on anyone that looks down on them and says, oh, well, you're only this.
Yeah, if she wants an OnlyFans, let her have an OnlyFans. She's happy.
And so are her viewers.
Yeah, I mean, if she's, you know what I mean? But that, like, all jokes aside, but that's truth, though.
But my point is when you're doing all of this work, you're doing it for you. You're doing it for the things that you want out of your life.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that the next person has to.
Yeah. Wow.
It,
Wow.
well, the more money you make, the more people you look at and say, "Oh, they ain't doing nothing."
Oh my God, dude. And that creates a divide in itself.
You're creating your own divide.
I've caught myself do that actually these past couple of years.
I think everyone has. But if you're cognizant about it, at least you're making an effort to be a good human being, right? If you're thinking about those things, at least you're making an effort to not feed into the narrative, to feed into this social system that is established in this country. It's established in many countries, right?
Oh, we went black on the screen. Okay. But no, that's true. That makes me actually think like I need to actually reassess myself because even these past couple months, I could humble myself a little bit. I mean, I really could. This is me talking to people, everyone listening. I could definitely humble myself. And
Well, don't confuse everything that we're talking about either, though, with making separation decisions that need to get made. Not everyone can come with you, no matter where you're going,
right,
right? That person that's working at McDonald's knows three people that aren't successful enough to continue the ride with them. Whether it be the success, whether it be the way that they live their lives, they make decisions. Not everyone can come with you, and that's okay too. It doesn't mean that you're selling out. It doesn't mean that you got a big head. Not everyone travels the same path.
yeah,
Okay, but someone that's heading north and someone that's heading south, they can't make that trip together. And when I say north,
oh wow, yeah, ain't that the truth?
and when I say north, I'm not talking about up or down, right? So let's go east or west.
Yeah, you know where I was going with this
Right.
conversation.
So let's go east or west.
Yeah.
If I'm going east and you're going west, we can't go together. We can't travel that same road. That's okay. It's all right, right?
You're just going two different places, correct?
We're heading in two different directions, and that's okay, right? I wish you the best. Is there anything I can do with you before you start your journey? There's not. Okay, I don't need anything either. Good luck.
Okay.
So everyone can't go with you.
Right.
You know, we talk about things like this, um, just in back and forth conversation, but we've been talking about stuff like this for years because, again, going back to sports, it's what everyone always talks about with sports, or Hollywood.
Yeah.
Right. MC Hammer, he's a millionaire. Now he's broke because he brought all of his peoples with him. All of his peoples didn't add to the success that he was experiencing.
Right.
They detracted from it. So why did he bring all of his peoples with him?
Yeah.
He did the work. He played the game of chess, right?
And brought his people with? Was that loyal guy?
And I appreciate the loyalty, but
you can still be loyal without having to carry someone else's weight.
If someone wants to come with, what value are they going to add? Can I find a place for you to add some value where I can bring you with me? If the answer is, oh, you're just going to sit on my couch, it doesn't work. Doesn't mean I don't love you.
Right.
Right? But it doesn't work. Don't believe me? Go ahead and win the lottery tonight.
Right.
See how long you get to keep that money if you don't require those who are looking for your help to add value to your situation.
Oh. I like that. You kind of hit that right on the nose.
And that, now, if you do it right, they can add value. Hey, I'm going to open this business. Since I've got this money, I want you to run it for me, and I'm going to pay you to do it. And the reason I'm going to have you run it for me is because I know that you have the abilities to do X, Y, and Z. Now you're turning your money into money. That person's adding value.
Right.
Hey,
they're carrying their own weight.
Hey, I'm going to be on the radio. I know you do all this stuff with digital engineering and whatnot. I want to bring you in. I'm going to start you off with this guy who knows what he's doing in a mentorship type role, and that is going to build you up. And at some point in time, we'll be able to collab together.
Right.
That's adding value. Hey, you're really good at Madden. Why don't you come over and hang out at my house? We'll have steaks every night. There's no value there.
Right.
So
No, and that's definitely understandable. That's nuts. That is freaking nuts. I need to play this whole episode back. I'm going to cut us off, and we're almost at 8:00 here. Chris. Thank you so much.
yeah,
Because, man, I think you should actually, start recording yourself talking, because you have a voice that needs to be heard. And it's definitely something that I appreciate running into you in this life, because I don't think I'd be, but I chose to listen.
you did.
Like you said, I chose to listen versus not. I mean, I could have just hung out or whatever and just did my job. But I mean, I mean this when I say I look up to you and I thank you. And I can't wait to see what this future brings, because of the words that you have instilled in my head too.
So the future's going to be bright as long as you decide that it's going to be.
Got to put in the work.
Is that it? That's what we talked about the whole time.
Yes, I love that. So I mean, everybody listening, boys and gents and boys. I mean, wow.
There might be women that are listening too.
Women too,
Okay.
gents and boys, women and yeah, you know what I'm saying. I'm so
Wow.
stuck on my words because everything you just said. Ladies and gentlemen,
There we go. There we go. Industry standard.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Zay Show on Latin Evolution Radio. And once again, I have Chris Culhane, the one and only. Thanks again, man. If anyone needs anything, reach out. The Zay Show, Latin Evolution Radio. Download the app tonight. I'm so hot right now. And that's it. Fuck, dude.